Okay, friends, I'm back. Sean from SGTReport.com, SGTReport.tv, Patreon, and BitChute. Other platforms will be coming on board soon. Thank you so much for finding me here, friends. It's great to be back. I want you to know that YouTube has poked an angry bear. On October 15th, in a coordinated, politically motivated, entirely biased act of fascist censorship, YouTube terminated dozens of Truth News channels from their platform without warning and without cause. On that same day, New York Times Magazine published an article saying, "The biggest threat to free speech is free speech." In a rambling, nearly incoherent op-ed by Emily Bazelon, the sycophantic liberal wrote, "It's an article of faith in the United States that more speech is better and that the government should regulate it as little as possible. But increasingly, scholars of constitutional law as well as social scientists are beginning to question the way we have come to think about the First Amendment's guarantee of free speech." Friends, do you think it's any wonder that on that same day, October 15th, so many like-minded YouTube channels were purged? Most of the channels were in good standing, and like both SGT Report YouTube channels, had zero community guidelines strikes. The charge? Bullying and harassment. This is a giant corporation, one of the biggest on earth, Google, which owns YouTube, silencing illegally, I might add, dozens of average citizens. It's Goliath versus David. They burn down our shops, our digital storefronts, just like Antifa has done in Portland, Seattle, Kenosha, and around the country. Talk about bullying and harassment. Joe and Hunter Biden and the Biden crime family needs a corporation to protect them from discourse of average citizens? I'm enraged that YouTube pulled this stunt, but I'm proud to be on the same list as other fine patriots whose channels were torched on October 15th. Channels like SGT Report that were bit-burned, including X22 Report, Red Pill 78, Praying Medic, Joe M, In Pursuit of Truth, Edge of Wonder, Space Shot 76, Woke Societies, Amazing Polly, Truth in Art TV, Patriots Soapbox, Dustin Nemos, In the Matrix, And We Know, Stropey Me, Just Informed Talk, and Sarah Westall, to name but a few of dozens upon dozens. This is nothing less than economic and financial terrorism, friends. Many of these channels, like SGT Report, built up their subscriber base over many years, and those people subscribed to those channels of their own free will. And YouTube, a platform, nothing more, severed that relationship between content producers and audience. That's tortious interference, and it's literally a crime. What the men and women of these terminated channels have done is dangerous. They spoke truth to power, and it's now abundantly clear that war has been waged on the American people. I received a text from my friend Mark S. Mann who wrote, "You did a lot of damage to those assholes, my friend. At the personal risk to your family, you literally waged war on these f***ers." Friends, I never viewed what I did to expose corruption as dangerous. However, what is clear, given YouTube Purge 3.0 and the channels I mentioned, patriots are on lists. And many patriots were silenced, their voices extinguished from the world's largest town square on October 15th in a coordinated purge. Fighting for the soul of our nation against an enemy that will lie, cheat, and steal is dangerous. In fact, it's war. And Rudy Giuliani doesn't think it's a joke. The MacBook repairman who had Hunter Biden's abandoned computer and hard drive is John Paul Mac Isaac. His father is a decorated Vietnam vet who retired as an Air Force colonel. Once John Paul Isaac discovered what was on Hunter Biden's hard drive, he feared for his own life.
This man, he didn't give you guys the copy of the hard drive and pass over the actual hard drive to the FBI.
No, he gave it to the FBI first.
Okay.
And he waited 4 or 5 months.
Why do you think he held on to it?
Well, he held on to 4. He held on to 4 copies of it. He gave 2 to friends of his in case he was killed. And he was. Don't laugh. People
Serious, yeah.
The presidency is at stake here, and we have some very dangerous people involved.
Fair.
We have some very dangerous people involved. Let that sink in. Words from a man who targeted the New York Mafia. Consider the lengthy Clinton body count list. Very dangerous people involved. Hunter Biden's abandoned hard drive presents the most concrete threat in history to the shadow power ruling order and to the Biden crime family. In Rudy Giuliani's latest episode of Common Sense, episode 78, titled Federal Crime Uncovered in Biden's Hard Drive, hard evidence implicating the entire Biden family as a crime family is laid bare. But as Giuliani notes, just 25% of the information on that hard drive has been analyzed so far, because the volume of texts, emails, and photos is so extensive. Joe Biden likes to present himself as a common man, a good politician, a good guy. Here's Joe on how much he earns.
No one make under $400,000, which is more money than I ever made, is going to be able to. No one make under $400,000, which is more money than I ever made.
Never made more than $400,000 per year, huh, Joe? Joe Biden, the point man. Iraq. Joe goes to Iraq and fails, but the Biden family flourishes. James Biden, his brother, who had no experience in housing, was made part of a $1.5 billion housing deal in Iraq. Who is James Biden? A lobbyist on K Street with no home building experience. Now, given that Giuliani thinks that the RICO statute is the way to bring down the entire Biden crime family, I'll have you know that the money from Iraq went directly to James Biden, but half of it gets funneled back to Joe, as we'll find out. Russia. Hunter Biden received $3.5 million from the wife of the former mayor of Moscow, Yelena Barturina. Net worth, $1.2 billion. Her husband, Yuri, was mayor of Moscow from 1992 to 2010 and extremely corrupt. So Putin and the wife got him out, and Yelena became an even closer friend of Putin's. Consider Russiagate, the charges against Trump. Then consider the $3.5 million paid to Hunter Biden and the real Russian collusion. Ukraine. Joe Biden, the point man. And pro-Russian Ukrainian Mykola Slavchevsky, sole owner of Cyprus-registered Burisma Holdings. In late 2014, he fled Ukraine amid allegations of self-enrichment and embezzlement. He fled with $5 billion. And with no one left to protect Burisma owner Slavchevsky, in comes point man Joe Biden. And remember, Sleepy Joe was in control of the billions Ukraine would need to survive. Joe's job? Distribute the money effectively and reduce corruption in Ukraine. Joe fails again, but the Biden crime family thrives. Slavchevsky needed protection and knew Joe was for sale. So he made a deal. The deal was he would employ Joe's son Hunter, who was just thrown out of the Navy for using drugs and selling drugs, and a friend of John Kerry's son named Devin Archer, who is now a convicted felon, and each of them would be paid $80,000 per month. Hunter Biden and Devin Archer joined the board to help the gas firm attract U.S. investors, we're told, and improve its corporate governance and expand its operations. A State Department spokesperson declined to comment. Does that pass the smell test? So Hunter's getting $2 million per year. Why? To peddle his dad's political influence. According to Rudy Giuliani, a text message from the number 2 person at Burisma to Hunter Biden, quote, "We're going to need you and Devin to use your influence." Huh? What is Hunter Biden's influence? It's Joe Biden. So Hunter Biden sets up a meeting, all documented by 8 text messages, with Joe Biden. This is smoking gun evidence that Joe Biden has been lying about what he knew about his son's involvement in Burisma. He knew what was going on with his son's involvement at Burisma from day one. Joe Biden was there to protect Slavchevsky, because in February 2016, the prosecutor Victor Shokin moved against Burisma on February 1st. And just 2 weeks later, in mid-March, he was fired.
And I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
So Joe gets the prosecuted Shokin fired, brags about it at the CFR, case gets dropped against his son Joe Biden and Zlochevsky, who then returns to Ukraine and keeps his company, while Joe Biden gets much of the money. Now on June 13th, 2020, Reuters, owned by Rothschild, ran this article, Ukraine alleges $5 million bribe over Burisma, no Biden link. Again, why were all of those channels torched on October 15th? Because the truth media is an existential threat to the shadow power ruling class. Now, as Giuliani outlines, the Biden crime family has taken a page out of the playbook of the Chinese. The way they do it is they funnel money to their children, brothers, and sisters, who then give kickbacks back to Joe, typically 50% of the money. Oh, and the children and siblings have to pay all of Joe and Jill Biden's expenses. As we wrap this one up, here are the homes Joe and Jill Biden own. Are you beginning to sense how they afford such a lifestyle on a public servant's salary? In part 2 of this report, I'll explain how and why the Chinese Communist government has a file on Joe Biden and the Biden crime family, and how Joe Biden is a puppet of the Chinese Communist government. Oh, in breaking news tonight, Sunday, October 18th, according to a high-level source of Wayne Allen Roots, who watched videos from Hunter Biden's hard drive, the source claims to have seen video of Hunter raping and torturing Chinese children. And the Chinese government has the videos. Friends, thank you so very much for tuning in. Thank you so very much for your support. I appreciate you all so very much. Stay tuned for part 2, coming soon. And for real news, 24/7, please visit us directly at sgtreport.com, the antidote to corporate propaganda. God bless. Bye-bye.